The statement begins following the Honorable Mtangwa's unceremonious expulsion from Zanu PF and the resultant vacancy for the Norton constituency seat. I have decided to participate in the subsequent by-election set to take place on the 22nd of October 2016 as an independent candidate. So far, my campaign is running smoothly with only a few incidents of posters being torn down and more confrontation being noted. I look forward to holding more sporting tournaments like the successful one held over the weekend and continuing with my plans to implement strategic developmental and empowerment initiatives to the benefit of the residents of Norton constituency. My decision to contest in the Norton by-election stems not only from the passion to make meaningful positive differences to the lives of the people in Norton, but also from a school of thought that unless one takes part in election, one does not have the experience to test the system and can be exposed to whether the electoral reforms are indeed being implemented. I therefore anticipate that I and many others will have the opportunity to gauge how far the country is coming along in terms of aligning the electoral reforms to the Constitution through this by-election. It will also be a litmus test for me to challenge the Electoral Court ruling regarding the eligibility to stand in the elections. In this regard, I have recently submitted a letter to the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, Justice Rita Makarawe, and await her response. Success in the Norton by-election will therefore be a better Zimbabwe and a better Norton and the beginning of a better Zimbabwe. We will watch with avid interest to see how the scenes unfold in Norton and monitor whether the violence will once again raise its ugly head as it did in Urungwa West, and use the platform to counter such unbecoming tendencies. A letter to this regard reminding the officer commanding from Shoreland West the proper of the recommendations from the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission report emanating from Urungwa West by-elections where cases of violence, intimidation and vote buying were evidenced has been submitted to the Assistant Commissioner Mushauri, Sydney Assistant Commissioner Mushauri. It is the fervent hope that these recommendations, as well as the mandate that the ZRP have during the election period to ensure that an enabling environment for a free, fair and credible elections is upheld, and that the necessary training of ZRP members has been taken place. You are aware of the Zimbabwe Human Rights Report Commission after the elections in Urungwa West. And it's quite sad that the parties don't seem to read and understand the recommendations of that report. And it's only you understanding the recommendations of that report that you can then say, are electoral reforms happening or not? What is basically happening is that you cannot base the Mao electoral practices of 2008 and 2013 as a case study to take before the court. The court will challenge you and say, but there have been by-elections happening. Did you contest or did you not contest? If you did not contest, then that then creates a problem for the electoral reform that we so wanted to see happening. Because the court will say to you, these by-elections were free, fair and peaceful, and that is the precedence which is there. The court cannot look at the precedence of a 2008 election or 2013 elections. So by parties not contesting in these elections, they're I think digging a grave for themselves, because the courts are very clear. One, when last did you take part in elections? All these by-elections which are happening at ward level, at constituency level, are you taking part? No. So why do you want us to base your electoral reforms from the past elections and not from the ones happening? Zanu PF will then produce the results of their by-elections and say, but they were free and fair. So we need to be very mindful of that if we are to pursue that. So that report is very clear on what the police must do, because the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission is mandated constitutionally to look into human rights violations, not NGOs, because an NGO report is not admissible by the court. But the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission report is, because 242 of the Constitution mandates them to do that. So, I said my taking part in the Urungwa West was for them to have that information and use it against ZEC and any other reform that they need to partake in. As as in the game of football, you cannot be in the final before you have gone through the qualifiers, quarter, knockouts, quarter, and semi-final stages. And therefore, it would be folly for us to think that come 2018, things would have been so would have miraculously changed without testing the system along the way. Dreaming, daydreaming. I'm a sports person. There is no ways that I'm going to take my team to the final without even playing a friendly. And we keep talking about that. Come on, I mean, don't waste our time. Take part in these elections. Even if, yes, my point is this, MDCT, other parties have taken part in these elections. They've tasted and faced the system. What about the parties that have not taken part in elections? Why create a soccer team and not want to play football and choose which team to play? It does not operate like that. If it's a Super League, you are forced to pay every team in the Super League. Not to say, no, we cannot play Dynamos because Dynamos, tikaenda kumbare, wanoita noise. Ndioka Dynamos yacho. So you need to also be prepared to condition your players to face Dynamos. Kumbare kwacho koko. You know, so this is what it is, and so forth. And I'm very passionate and serious about that. The opposition parties would do well to encourage increased voter registration as opposed to boycotting elections, as boycotting cultivates a habit of voter apathy that is bound to work against them in 2018. By you not taking part, ZANU-PF is registering, comrades. It's registering its people. You are not registering your people. There's no voter apathy. Come 2018, while ZANU-PF is losing ground, the half that have joined you, there's half that is joined, that has stayed, which is new. Who's winning? Who's winning? So where is the merit in all these think tanks that they're having sitting down? Who's thinking for them? Clearly there's some wrong thinking somewhere, because voter registration is critical. You'd rather say, because by saying don't take part in elections, you're equally saying don't register. So how do you win elections when people are not registered? So, you know, you see the vacuum which is there. Dynamics have changed. You talk about a coalition at the end of the day, and I think it's important that it becomes the issue. ZANU-PF are continuously registering new voters who, whether forcibly or not, participate in elections, thereby swinging voters in their favor. When you register a voter as a party, that voter feels an obligation to vote for you, whether you like it or not. This is the reason why the participation of young people in voter mobilization is critical. Because once you do that, because we still have a certain generation which is more than the average youth age still taking part in vote. We have not seen the youth really being key and having any significant role to play in any election. No wonder why at the end of the day, the protests happening in town where the youth are involved, ZANU-PF will make you focus on that instead of us pushing for the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission to open the voter registration continuously. This anger, this failure by this government led by Robert Mugabe must turn into votes. People must be registering. Come 2018, you have more people than willing to vote and so forth. But right now, we are still moving. Even some of these guys who are going on to protest, are they registered for voters? It all boils down to that at the end of the day. Whatever is happening in the urban does not really concern the ruling party. Their electorate is in the rural, 72%. I've always given this figure over and over again, that what sort of tacticians or strategists are we where we don't deal with figures? 26% of the people on the electoral, on the voters' roll are in the urban. 72% are in the rural areas. Come on, let's take this energy there, not here. I keep on saying this over and over and over again, that the person who will take this message to the rural folk is the person who wins the election. The dynamics of politics has changed, and political parties that do not contest elections cannot fully understand or appreciate the magnanimity of participating in an election, fraught with irregularities, or why exactly the need to push for electoral reforms is so important. Only those that have participated are qualified and experienced to speak out. There are so many political parties, so many leaders. What do they have? They don't even have a structure. I'm writing a letter to NERA, to the chairperson, that I challenge to verify every structure of these political parties. Do they exist? Don't they exist? Not only that, I'm also giving the structures of YAD, saying that we're better structured than them, but we're not a political party. Why? Because we were a progressive movement. We believe pretty clear that MDCT led by Changira is the biggest opposition. If we agree on 3 things out of 5, why can't we support them? That is a like-minded Zimbabwean that we are looking for. But everybody is setting up a party. Everybody's setting up a party. You are setting up a party, I'm setting up a party. But what is in that party? To just have 12 parties, a good headline, 12 parties are getting together to fight Zanu PF. MDC itself, in fact, is good enough to fight Zanu PF because it has fought Zanu PF before while we were in Zanu PF and has had those results. So why don't we deal with the person with the results rather than the person without results? I'll go on to explain to that. The parties should have sound structures nationwide, equally penetrating into the rural areas, lest they make themselves insignificant. YAD is an organization that has set up structures right into the constituencies and wards, has better structure than some of these up-and-coming political parties. I could have easily entered the political fray on a YAD ticket. I could win this Norton constituency on a YAD ticket, and I can. But I don't think that's important. I don't think YAD must be a party. I think there are a lot of parties that must understand that they must accommodate young people. If you want to really set up a company which makes chips, okay, and there's another company which is making chips which hasn't got the new machine that you have, and they offer you to think join them, why not? The business remains the same. You don't have to create a new company. I could have easily entered the political frame. However, YAD has resolved that it is more benefit to the country as a whole to remain an all-encompassing political organization working with any progressive movement to tackle the electoral challenges from a youth platform. In this way, YAD envisions that youth participation in legislation will have a more futuristic appeal. Chamisa coming in as vice president, excellent. But how many MPs are youthful too? How many councillors are youthful too? It must be structured. Because Chamisa is there, is the only VP, but he needs to have young people in constituency level, ward level, that will complement what he wants to do. So MDC must further say that in the 210 constituencies, a certain percentage is going to the youth, a certain percentage is going to the councillors. That's what we want to hear. Then we know that they fully embrace the youth and so forth. I commend the war veterans who are the liberators of our country for their unwavering support and the realization that they fought in the past has been eroded over time. This is in contrast to political parties who feel that I should officially write to them. You know, I've been in this election as an independent, and I'm not saying that it's me who should stand. I don't need the money. I'm owed money by Parliament at the end of it. 2,500 does not change my way of life. It doesn't. When I got into Parliament, I had enough of me in terms of what I need to establish. So the point is that what am I after? What am I after to stand as a member of Parliament? I've been involved in every progressive move by the political parties, be it the march to ask for the 15 billion, the 2.2 million for the jobs, the Itai Zamara, without them writing to me, because I believe that's the right thing to do. So why should political parties think today I must write to them to come and support me in Norton? Let me warn the political parties, don't think that you control people. Norton will teach you a lesson. You are slowly becoming irrelevant because you have failed to profile solution. And people now are looking for anybody who can bring about change. So if you think I'm going to sit down and write to you, asking you to support me, then you are wrong. I don't work like that. I'm an independent candidate who believes that any like-minded Zimbabwean must be progressive in their thinking. The war veterans have been great, and to me, that is the biggest move that ever happened in this country, to be endorsed by the war veterans. They endorsed Mugabe, they worked for Mugabe. They have endorsed me, they are working with me in the structures, in the rural areas, where I believe most political parties had not penetrated and so forth. So when the freedom fighters are behind you, who do you really need at the end of the day? I don't need the political parties. They brought the country to where it is today. Okay, so to me, I'm really okay with where I am, but the warning that I'm sending to them is that you are becoming irrelevant. You are not on the ground. You are not on the ground. You don't know what is taking place. You are not talking to the people. You just don't realize how people are suffering. Because your structures are not there. I'm meeting the people every day. Follow us on Twitter, where I am every day, who I'm talking to, for you to see what I'm saying is true. They don't want to hear of any other party. They want to hear of somebody who's going to bring about change. Where does this drive me to? Come 2018, don't be shocked to get an independent presidential candidate who win an election. That's the warning I'm sending to them. If you don't work together and rally behind the biggest opposition, listen, argue that Tsvangirai is not the best leader, but you cannot also take away that his organization, MDCT, is the biggest opposition. Separate the individual and the institution. It's critical that we understand that. So in dealing with MDCT, it is the institution that you're dealing with. The aspect of who will lead the coalition is different. If you don't want Tsvangirai to lead the coalition because he's not a good leader in MDC, it's now up to the MDC to sit down, have their own meeting and say, but we are leading this coalition as a party, but Tsvangirai is not the best person to lead. That must come from them moving forward. So we must separate those issues as we move on. With regards to a coalition, my sentiments are that that the largest opposition party, it would be prudent to allow MDCT to lead such a coalition. One may not like the leader of the party, but we should remain true to the cause and build structures to run government around the platform. Selecting leaders from all political parties in an all-encompassing manner until elections are held and what a party brings to the table may be used to come up with a structure moving forward. There are two different issues here. There is the party structure and there is the government structure. Okay, the party structure can say that since the party wields the power, they can say that, listen, we don't need anybody who's 65 to work in government, but you can work in the party. So you can have somebody, you can have the party president. The party president does not necessarily have to be the leader of government. That's a different ballgame altogether. You can have young technocrats leading government. At the same time, you have the party controlling the policies, the ideology of that. They can be recalled by the party. Look at ANC. Thabo Mbeki was recalled by the party. He was in government, recommended, seconded by the party. They can recall him. So that's a system that Zimbabwe must get used to at the end of the day. It is clear that the current government and ruling party has failed to deliver or tackle corruption. The party has no respect for its vice presidents who hold national office and are blatantly and disrespectfully attacked. Something which sadly not only exposes the weaknesses of the party, but exposes the country as a whole. A vice president is a high vice president for Zimbabwe. Like Mpoko, don't like Mpoko. Like Mnangagwa, don't like Mnangagwa. Like Mjuru, don't like Mjuru when she was vice president. That's a national office. So when really subordinates are attacking a vice president who at times acts, so when he's acting, what control has he got? It's said that the president would sit and allow his vice president to be attacked without even admonishing them. And then you then ask yourself, who's really the master of the game? It is him who's the master of the game, who's allowing his vice presidents to be attacked. Shame on the president, because when he leaves, the country is acting. These guys have no power, they have no authority. The young boys in the streets can say, we will not listen to Mnangagwa or Mpoko because Chimene said this. So to me, the precedent set is a precedent which is bad for a country. Even the business community will not take them seriously when they engage with the vice presidents who are acting. To me, it's pretty clear that it's shameful. It is shameful as a country, whether you like Mnangagwa or not, or Mpoko or not, for the president to sit right there calmly and listen to an attack of a national vice president. Surely my message to the president that they are coming to you from now. They think started with me as a provincial chairman. They went to the Secretary General Mtasa. They went to Gumbo. They went to Vice President Mjuru. They've come to Mnangagwa. The only one left is you. They are coming to you. The very same people are coming to you. And it is a precedence that you have set. A nation which really has a culture of violence and insults, without him standing up and admonishing that. You know, for me, I'm not proud to be a Zimbabwean. For that, I'm not. Our culture is that wakura atukwe. No matter what happens, this is the culture that we have. Nasta kuona wakuru achitukwa. Those vice presidents, vane wazukuru, what are they saying? You know, I must give it to them. They are really loyal to the president. I would really leave the job. Because I think integrity and dignity of an individual is more important. It is more important. Not because on the sekuru maitukwa enewa zukuru akuerenga inyaya eritot. These guys have gone to the struggle, and this is the sort of treatment that they get. Our culturally hatituke wakuru. You know, so for me, it's really a shame that we are witnessing that in Zimbabwe. We're peace-loving, cultural people with respect, and our dignity is being, you know, taken away as we watch. Turning to the latest unprecedented rise in the cases of police brutality, has the ruling party not done enough to destroy people's lives? These unwarranted attacks cannot be allowed to continue with impunity, and the culprits must be brought to book for sanity and confidence to be restored in the ZRP as an institution whose mandate is to serve people. Believe you me, Zanu PF has done enough to destroy people's life. But where I'm going to get to now is something that we must think. There must be a voice of reason. If Zanu PF is destroying people's lives, why then are people marching, destroying somebody's life? I speak with emotion, with so much anger today, because there is a young man that I helped to set up a phone shop. You stone it, his phones are all taken away. What is that? I mean, what is that? He has no insurance. You know, and I say so because there's a young man that I helped. And now his life is no more. Is this the Zimbabwe we want? I mean, is it not enough from the Zimbabwean government what we're going through? From the Zanu PF government, led by Mugabe, the suffering? What more suffering do you want to give to other people? You go into town, there is so much in terms of things being destroyed. What has a building got to do with the running of a nation? I have advice to people who really are determined. Can they go on Google and try and Google the way to the State House? Why don't you march there? Why don't you march there? You're allowed. Why don't you march to the State House and say, President, this is what is happening. This is where he works, this is where he lives. So why are you coming to places where he does not work? The State House is there. Let everybody lead the march there. That's the march I'm looking forward to. And that's the march you see me leading to. I'm more than happy. The day you decide to march to the State House, you can count on me. I'll also be in that march. Because it's a meaningful march. We're taking it to his office. We're taking it to his residence. Saying, you are not hearing us. Takuya kumba. Ndito tsika zediga zechiwa. Kana zvataza tinoenda kumbaka. Tonokurukura kumba. There's nothing amiss with that. This is the way we are. It would appear that the tag that Zanu PF are violent is being evidenced in the manner in which the ZRP are callously attacking peaceful protesters. The violence is condemned in the most strongest of terms. The fact that Zanu PF has never stood up and openly admonished its youth leaders for the violent tendencies and acts clearly contributes to the rise of such cases. And I challenge Honorable Minister Ignatius Chombo in his capacity as the Minister of Home Affairs to issue a statement regarding the current brutality by members of the ZRP as being witnessed, and to put an end to the indiscriminate persecution of innocent citizens. Furthermore, his statement should include action against the violent statements being issued by people like Chipanga against war veterans and opposition parties, as these statements serve as insightful and are tantamount to declarations of confrontation. As long as this is not addressed, violence will be hard to be stemmed. Zanu PF youths do go publicly and say we are going to be violent. The National Commissar for ZANU-PF, Kasukwere, is very clear on that. But Chombo has never said anything. So my question is that why target MDC to be the ones who are violent? Are you forgetting your party is violent? Your party issues statements publicly, and we have records of that. What has he said about that? So now I fail to understand who's really violent. Because ZANU-PF leadership does not admonish violence, encourages it. And then you have this violence in town, and then you then want to target MDC or any of these opposition parties. The ruling party is the mother of violence. And what is the ruling party as the mother of violence saying to its members who are also part of it? Can I remind Minister Chombo that there is what you call the third force, which they are deliberately ignoring. That's the economy. For as long as they don't address the economic issues, they are equally affecting ZANU-PF members. In fact, more ZANU-PF members are affected because ZANU-PF members are used to getting freebies. They've never worked. Now that the government has no money, there's no freebie. So the most affected are ZANU-PF members. So how are they sustaining their lives now that the ruling party and the government has no money? There are no more freebies. Who is affected the most? It's the ZANU-PF member. So we actually expect to see more of them in the streets because they're suffering. We probably more of them looting too, because looting is a culture within ZANU-PF. It's not something which is new. They brought this culture of violence. They brought the culture of looting. So when it is happening, why is it that it is a surprise? Come on, Comrade Chombo, smell the coffee. Smell the coffee. I was provincial chairman in your own province, and you know what I used to talk about in terms of violence. You never watch. So don't today be sitting and think we're intimidated by having the Minister of Defense and the Minister of things, state security, you actually having to do a press conference. Zimbabweans are not intimidated by that. We are not intimidated by ministers of state security surrounding a press conference and so forth. We want to see the Minister of Economic Affairs, the Minister of Finance, flagged, the President flagged by them, talking about the state of the economy. That's what we want to hear. Chinamasa must get the President to respond to the state of the economy. That's the press conference that we want to hear. That is what will deal with the current situation on the ground. So we are not moved by that. We are not intimidated by that. They are human beings. Soldiers are suffering too. Your very same police officers, their brutality stems from the anger that you're not paying them on time. And now they are venting it on people. Pay your officers first, nicely, and then they can discharge their duties professionally. But they're angry. They're equally frustrated of what is going on. Pese pahasha munyika muno, kumapolisa pacho pahasha, kumasoja pahasha, and so forth. Commander-in-Chief, can he respond to all this? So we are not moved by these press statements. They don't mean anything anymore. They don't bring food to the table, please. You have stolen enough. In fact, I would like a situation, all this tear gas is happening. I would love a tear gas to be thrown in Kasukwere's house. I'm sure the 15 billion, some of it will come out naturally because of the tear gas. Use the tear gas to go and throw it into these ministers' houses, Wana Chombo, Nana Kasukwere, Wagara, Chiba, instead of these innocent people. When it's time for a protest, the whole Harare is full of police officers, but you can't even send the police officers. This is how misguided the president is. He appoints the most corrupt person to be the minister of police. President, come on. Chombo, minister of police. He is supposed to be behind bars with others there. That's where he belongs. Oh, come on, don't waste our time and give us these corrupt leaders to be addressing us, you know, and you're telling us we're going to listen to them. They are irrelevant. We are waiting for the president to be out of power, and we will have the next commissioner general to get them arrested. I think dockets are waiting for them. They must know that. Most I worry. Rambai muri pazigare papo kasi madokesi trikuwaisa otega iso futi nei mhosva dzamunadzo tozopa new commissioner general anenge apinda basa kuti ava ndove kutanga kusunga. And the best you can do as Minister of Home Affairs is make sure my police cells nemajere are clean for you kana mazopinda imomo. I think that's what you must work towards. We cannot have this happening all the time. The opposition always encourages peace and peaceful protests, but are constantly being forced into situations where necessary preservation and protection becomes necessary, this practice of unprovoked attacks by ZIP should be desisted from immediately. Government must be tolerant of a citizen's right to express their grievances in a peaceful manner. I once said here that with where we are going, you need the government to be tolerant. You don't need a heavy-handed government, a heavy-handed police because of the economic situation. In this light, the Yard calls for the immediate release of Tinotenda Mungu, our national commander for information and publicity, a student who has been indiscriminately incarcerated along with many others who do not deserve to be behind bars, whose only crimes are their peaceful cries to be heard. This violence is opening the door to malcontents to cause destruction and looting. Many of these cases of looting can be derived from the appalling state of the economy, but at the same time cannot be condoned. How does a looting of a young man's telephone booth have anything to do with improving the situation in the country? This is where, again, I'm saying, understand the whole system. When political parties book for those matches, they must understand there are people who infiltrate, who are planted to bring disorder, so that the police can then use law and maintain law and order. Do you really know the people? So the question that I must ask, which I need to be educated on, should we continue protesting? Should we continue demonstrating? What we're getting at people being tear-gassed, innocent people coming into town. We had a child in Blawayo, 5-year-old, died because of tear gas. We've got Linda Msariri, a mother of 5, behind bars and so forth. The question to Zimbabweans is that the solution for Mugabe to go? Protesting and demonstration. Don't you think the police are also in the same situation as we are? And why do we want to allow the state to bring that division? Sisonke, lama police, lama soja, wonke abantu, we are together. But why are you creating that division to happen? You speak to an ordinary policeman outside his working hours, he tells you he's suffering. But when he's wearing his uniform, he has to work under instructions. And why are we not smart enough from a strategic point of view? If we decide to march, let's all march, so that the police can never thwart a march of all Zimbabweans. In fact, they join in the march. Can I tell you the truth? They equally want to think joining the march, but you are not many. The day you are many, they will also join in the march. When is that going to happen? So that's a question that I ask. The protests, the demonstrations, are they yielding the result that we want? And I say this with a heavy heart, because this young man's shop of cell phones is no more. He now has to pay them. Where does he get the money from? So we need to really think in terms of strategy, that is it really working? And while you're given a peaceful order to march from the court, are they really peaceful if you understand the system? These are some of the issues, honestly, which are eating up my heart, that is this going to yield the results that we want? Others are staying in the house. We're still worried. Yes, we have a few guys out there. I give it to them. They're determined and so forth. But they must take that ideology to everyone, so that the day we all decide to march, it is effective. Because it's bringing misery to other people's lives. Linda, for me, is a good example. She's a member of Yard, member of many political parties, but she's incarcerated. She's not a looter. She's genuine about the fighting for this country, but she's now behind bars. Who's looking after the kids at the end of the day? Can't we be a bit wiser? Can't we be a bit smart? Can't we have strategy, and so forth? I was thinking when I was in Norton the other day campaigning, I said, boy, the energy that these guys have to demonstrate and protest, I wish they could come to Norton one day and just campaign. Imagine what Norton would be after that. Norton would never be the same again. So, we've got to channel this in the right direction. Political parties should brace themselves against attack, and remember that the people are looking for leaders that are genuine and sincere. They should avoid fishing from the same pond in the urban areas and strategically move into the rural areas where Zanu PF has a stronghold and take from the youth. disenfranchised by current political parties who do not have policies aligned to them should be encouraged to stand as independent candidates. Above all, I cannot emphasize enough the responsibility each and every one of us has to take in the electoral processes and to register and vote. Voting is your right, voting is your responsibility and your children's future. For updates and news of the current events happening in my race for Norton seat, we'll give you our Facebook, which is Norton by-election 2016 Temba Mliswa, or you can follow on my Twitter handle at Norton election. I thank you for having come here and listened to what I have to say. We've been very quiet, we have not said much as yet and so forth, but we believe we want to be in the political office, and we're equally encouraging every young person where there is a by-election contest will come and support you. Stand as an independent, let's test the system, and whatever has happened in Zimbabwe, I want to see through Norton that has it really gotten to the people. Are people despondent? Are people fed up of ZANU-PF? Because a month ago there was a by-election in Mazoe North. ZANU-PF had 12,000 votes. The opposition has 800. Yet this has been happening. So can you say that ZANU-PF is no longer popular? It's a question that we must ask. No one complained about the elections being violent in Mazoe. They've got a case to say they were free, fair, and credible. They got 12,000 votes, the opposition had 800. Yet we're saying they are not popular. Food for thought. Can I get some questions? Yes, sir.
Just one question. I would like to know, you have been given a candidate for Zimbabwe West, and now you want to know to. Last time, I understand there was violence in the West, and maybe as we go towards Zimbabwe, it's likely to be violence. What lessons have you learned from the West which you think will change the situation in Norton?
The strategy of campaigning is pretty important. You have to campaign early. It has to be door to door. You have to talk to the people. You can't have rallies and so forth, because the moment you have rallies, people are exposed and they don't want to be exposed. The moment that you have a rally, then they are followed up to their houses. You had this rally and so forth. So a vote is secret. And more needs to be done to teach the people, to educate them door to door with enough time. That's what we are working on right now. There are many volunteers on the ground, young graduates who have capacity to read and understand, are busy talking to people. We have ward commanders, there are 16 wards in Norton, so there's a team of 10, 5 from Norton, 5 from outside who are coming in. The polling agents, 1 is degreed, 2 are locals from the area, because the ones that are degreed is to do with think capacity as well. And one of the issues which has happened, which is a plus, my failure in, I was joking with war veterans, and I do like them, I admire them a lot, and said, oh, thank God the thing rigging machine is now on my side. The war veterans were the rigging machine of ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF no longer has the rigging machine. They are the ones who went and caused havoc in Urungwe West. They are the ones who caused havoc all over. You know, everybody says they are old, you cannot, asnabasa, but they have strategy because they were part of the Chimurenga War. And the strategies in the Chimurenga War are the strategies that they use to mobilize, intimidate, and instill fear in people. So thank God, for the first time, the thing rigging machine is on the independent candidate. ZANU-PF cannot win the election. ZANU-PF cannot mobilize, because the significance of those war veterans was that they remained on the ground in the areas. You see, they were the watchdogs for ZANU-PF. Whoever came in from opposition, they would block. They were involved in the redistribution of land, because they were the people. So they are commanders in those constituencies. So ZANU-PF did not have to deploy anybody in that constituency. They relied on commander, comrade Ningirikiri, kuti aite basa imo. Manje comrade where taanaya manje. Saka wacha deploy ani. And the comrade ndiye I lead them youth. Are you with me? They were the guys who say, you go and fight. Listen, for me, whether it's a miracle or not, my campaign in Norton, in the rural Ward 15, which was the stronghold for ZANU-PF, it's as good as gone. People are serious. I've got village heads who are very clear, chiefs who are coming to meetings saying, no, we support any candidate. I mean, it is amazing, it's overwhelming, but the war veterans were key in introducing me to those village head and chiefs. Because ZANU-PF cannot bring in youth in those areas, because those youth in the areas will fight against those coming from outside. And the war veterans equally. So that is a masterpiece. If there's anything that ever happened in this country which is significant for elections, was the war veterans saying we're out of ZANU-PF. Since 1980. So this is the first election since 1980 that the war veterans have said we are not supporting ZANU-PF. And they are with me for sure. They are with me on the ground. They are going ahead with the message. I follow through. It's smooth. It's just cruising, to be honest with you. And the urban, again, has always been controlled by MDCT. This is where I talk about the thing, relevance of the parties and so forth. If you look at the figures, Chris Mtranga had 10,500 in 2013, MDC Tranga had 9,350, Washman Ngube had 800. So, and then you've got these other 12 opposition parties. So if you were a strategist and you wanted to really write a letter for support, who would you write a letter to? So MDC, they control the urban. The mayor is MDC in there and so forth. Out of the 16 councillors there, MDC, if not mistaken, have got 11 or 12. And they are only lost by 1,000 in this ward 15. Which when the votes came through in the rural, they're only through rural wards. So that's the difference with Urungwe West and what you call it. On Saturday, I've got one of the biggest meetings in Kingsdale in the urban of Norton. That's the stronghold of ZANU-PF. So most of the people who have seen me there are saying, but Temba is moving around with ZANU-PF people. Rightfully so. We must divide ZANU-PF to win. You see, you cannot go into this war and not say you're not going to divide ZANU-PF. You know, the by-elections, the primary elections which they had 9 candidates, has split the vote. All the rest of the candidates are backing me up. Their supporters, not necessarily them, and so forth. You can't have a by-election and have 9 candidates. If you look at Mazoe, March Central, the home of Kasukwere, they put Dina there without a primary election, which was a smart move because it doesn't divide people. He's imposed, but they control the area. So the same method was supposed to be adopted in what you call it, in Norton, to say we are putting X so that votes are not divided and so forth. So Norton is totally different. Just the urban itself, if they come out to vote, you can win an election. Yes.
Yes, you are talking of war veterans. But we've got the group led by Mandishime and the likes of ZimdiTv. Do you rule out their relevance in the ZANU-PF politics, their relevance in terms of mobilizing for the party, considering that the Machimadan has already been checked out? The relevance of the remaining group, the likes of ZimdiTv and Mandishime?
It goes without saying, the Bible even talks about false prophets and true prophets. Those are false structures of the MDC. We know very well. People are quite aware of that. It's like my expulsion from ZANU-PF. The real people in ZANU-PF in Norton now, with what has happened, are pretty clear that he was never wrong. He was just honest. With time, people do catch up to some of these things and so forth. Mandichimen is of no consequence at the end of the day. She won the election in Mtare, in North, what is the constituency again? It's not Mtasa North, it's Makoni South. She was a war veteran and she stood as a war veteran. It would be interesting in the next election if standing as a war veteran and being campaigned against other war veterans, she will win. It's pretty clear. You don't talk about it. Listen, the most sort of war veterans who are operational in this country are Jablanis Banda, Matema Danda, and Mahia, and Crew, and Ondo. Those are clear. Those are operational. Those are true commanders. These are other war veterans who are in the offices. And Chinotimba has now resorted himself. Listen, Christopher is an academic. He's smart, but from an operational point of view, as a provincial chairman, if you see Matema Danda lecturing people and talking to people, or Jabulanis Banda, you get converted. Those are operators. Chris is academic. He was there to represent them at a certain level. No wonder why he's a minister. The rest don't want to be ministers. They want to influence the change of the country. And I know very well they will be involved in 2018. And I appeal to all the political parties. Great move by Triangle again to meet the old veterans. Great move, because that was the rigging machine. And they must go and tell the people that we no longer want Mugabe as a president. Zanu PF cannot convince. The only people that have authority and power to tell the electorate that we don't want Mugabe are the war veterans. They are the only ones, because they are the ones who told the people we want Mugabe. They are also the only ones who can tell the people we no longer want Mugabe, because he is the person that they chose in the struggle to think lead them. They own Mugabe, so they can disown him too. Yes.
Yes, I've got some clarifications. First of all, you were talking about other opposition parties being useless, writing to you some letters, and you are saying you're not going to write, the letters to them. Which opposition parties are you talking to? Because at the other end, you seem to be glorifying MDC, which is also part of the opposition parties. Then secondly, talk of protests. You seem to be supporting the protesters. Let's go to state house, whatever. At the same time, you seem to be, rubbishing them. What's the question?
First of all, there's no political party that I've spoken to the political parties. I talked to them, but it was disappointing that some of them thought I must write to them. So I said, no, I wouldn't write to you. Why should I write to you? When I come and take part in your initiatives, would you have written to me? I think it's a progressive movement. YAD is all over, as you can see, without even us being involved in this protest. The YAD members involved in all the protests that has been happening and so forth. I have to be clear and honest from my heart that how sincere are some of these parties? Are they parties, first of all?
Excluding MDC.
Oh, listen, no, MDC has the results. The reason why I talk about MDC, it has the results. You can go to ZEC and check the MDC. Why don't we make it simple? Let's go to ZEC and look at the 2013 results. That becomes the basis of why I talk about MDC. I don't have to like MDC, but it is the biggest opposition as per results of 2013. I don't know unless there is any other party which did contest, which has better results. When I was in Parliament, it was Zanu PF and MDC having more MPs. Today in Parliament, it's MDC that has more MPs. So people seem to think I support them. I support facts. And where I'm wrong, tell me. You cannot support MDC. It's not the biggest party, but X is the biggest party. So it is a factual. It is a numerical. It's a figures game. So that's my issue. The other parties have no figures to back them up. You see, the other parties have no figures to back them up, and that is the truth of the matter. And this is why I think that there's got to be sincerity in this political party. If they believe in a progressive Zimbabwe, why can't they rally behind one leader? This is the challenge they have. If they cannot, then who are they? Are they parties? Because we don't want to be exposing ourselves. And we equally don't want to expose them. Because people who are taking Zimbabweans lightly, Zimbabwe are suffering, they want change. I mean, we can all have a party here, and having a party really is the same as some of the parties who are there.
Okay, let's talk about protests.
The protest, to me, I've never been an activist. That's the truth of the matter. In not being an activist, people have a right to go and demonstrate. I've equally marched and demonstrated and so forth. But with the system that we have, I'm a think strategist. I'm not emotional. I'm not rational when it comes to that. Is a protest when the system is like this the right thing to do? Which now ends up in giving the system the right to now descend on you heavily after that looting. I mean, we must also say, we must be honest. Let's not enjoy protests, and then when there is now when people now take law into their own hands and loot shops, what does the system do? Now you're inviting the army to come on board. You've now invited them. So was that smart? So where is it taking us to? And now they have a right from an international community, whether you like it or not. And I hope people don't think that I'm still Zanu, but I'm telling you the truth. With all those pictures, the same pictures you send of them beating you up, they're also sending those pictures to those people of you looting. And they're now saying to the world, should we watch everybody loot? Because some of these shops belong to NDC people, to people who are innocent, to Marambo people, to Zim First people. So why are you looting? I mean, they're going to come heavy on you, and I support that. For me, I support that there must be no violence. If we're going to protest, let it be peaceful. Let them beat us up. Teach a thing protest. Let's send those, let's send it around. But if you now loot, I mean, they are now ready for you. If people die, from a constitutional point of view, they have a right to say it was law and order. We're maintaining law and order.
I'm not getting, so should they proceed or they should stop?
No, listen, to me, when you do something, it must yield results. I've never believed in demonstration and protesting, removing Mugabe from power. It's never worked in Zimbabwe. This is not, and I agree when they say, this is not the Arab thing. Our politics is different from there. Those guys can be suicidal bombers, as you know. Who's prepared to be suicidal bomber here? Huh? If you're not prepared to be suicidal bomber, don't do it. I mean, it has to be coordinated, it has to be efficient, it must have results. And we must be very clear, and I'm very clear about that. Because it is the innocent people. I say this today because of this young man's shop, which is no longer there. He has no phones anymore. And this happened. So they must go back and think and ask, are protests happening or not? The reason why we talk about going to the status, just to answer you, is because I believe if Zimbabweans are ready about marching, let's all say on this day, everyone come out. It's a call to everyone. Not kuta Buddha and Dian, as not Buddha and Dian. When we are together in numbers there is strength. In numbers, there is strength. When there are no numbers, there are no strengths. We must understand that. That is a basic principle of a demonstration. In numbers, there is strength. We do support what they're doing, standing up, but it's now affecting people's lives. I'm talking about Linda here. She's incarcerated. No matter we take a popcorn there in jail, English breakfast, it's not making her see her kids. Her kids need the mother. So can we now be considerate about some of the actions that we are taking?
So what you have to
Yes.
Yes, I understand. The war veterans are supporting you there. I just want to know if the former home of that constituency is supporting you, which is Christopher Mshango. Is he backing up to take that very same home he used to?
I don't work with individuals. I work with structures. I work with structures. I don't work with individuals.
I mean, yes.
That's what I'm saying. I've not spoken to Mshango about Norton. Do I need to talk to him? No, I equally don't need to talk to him.
I mean, he's one of the war veterans, yes.
He belongs to a structure of the association. If the structure of the association has made that statement and the chairperson, so he's fully behind it. He has never issued a statement to say he's not supporting me.
Okay.
We must understand that they are a very structured organization. Are you with me?
Yeah.
And that's how it operates.
Okay.
Any other question?
So what
Yes.
you said about the stay away that is planned for tomorrow? Shut down.
Stay away to what effect? Everybody is unemployed. So is it new? I mean, you are only killing the informal sector. Are you with me? You are only killing the informal sector. Okay, let's just... Okay, we'll give you this. We'll give you this. We'll give you this. Other guys have emails. We'll send them to you. He was talking about the beat. He was talking about the beat. He was talking about the beat. He was talking about the beat.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, ZimdiTv News, and be the first to receive breaking news and stories making headlines. And also subscribe to our website, ZimdiTvNews.com, and never miss a story.